Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming. My name is Karen Whittemore. I am a family nurse practitioner. I have been in practice now for 25 years. And in all of my time in medicine, I have never seen anything quite like the technology from LifeWave with the X39 and the other patches that they carry. And today we're going to be finding out a little bit more about it, how it works, and why you might be interested in using these patches for yourself. And today we have a very special guest, Tondra Thompson. I'd like you to tell everybody a little bit about yourself and some of the health problems that you've had to deal with, because you have quite an extensive history. So if you can share with us what your life has been like.
So in 2015, I felt really tired, fatigued. Nothing was going right. I couldn't figure out what was going on with my life. And I just felt like I was just like slowly slipping through. And then in 2016, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it hasn't stopped from there. So I've had breast cancer. I ended up with a double mastectomy. During my double mastectomy, I ended up with a dual pneumothorax, which means that both of my lungs popped. I had to have my chest supported. I had to be resuscitated. You know, that was a long recovery process. I did almost 2 years of chemotherapy. I stopped breathing on multiple occasions from the medications. I was really beaten up, honestly. But I never gave up. So I wouldn't let anybody tell me that I was fighting cancer, because I wasn't going to fight myself. So I believed that I was destined to thrive no matter how rough life got. And even when my surgeon told a friend of mine that this was going to be bad, I still really never accepted it. I never owned it. I ended up being ER positive, PR positive, and HER3+ positive, which is like, it's like cancer on steroids.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
I went from a double mastectomy, or excuse me, I went from clear margins to needing a double mastectomy in 14 days. Huntsman told me that was like one of the fastest growing cancers they had ever seen. So anyway, it was a mess. So as time went on, I ended with a tumor in my brain. I ended up having a tumor resection for my brain. It resulted in my brain bleeding for 14 days from medical science missing that the brain was bleeding. I ended up in ICU again. I spent 2 weeks of my life not remembering. I still can't remember 2 weeks of my life. And then I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to talk again. And it's just like one thing after another, right, Karen? We've seen it. I had to have hysterectomies. I've had tumors all over. And if I could narrow this all down, I ended up finding out that I had glutathione reductase deficiency, which nobody knew why. It's really rare, but positive by blood and labs. And then later on, I found out I had alpha-1 antitrypsin, which is complements of the oxygen. I have a really rare genetic lung condition. And then the lung and the liver is affected. And so that means that the liver doesn't make the glutathione that it needs because the liver isn't processing proteins correctly. So that would make me glutathione deficient. And once we realized that and got me on a level, a high enough glutathione level, it was almost like the tumors just stopped growing. And a lot of people can't explain this. Karen has been with me on this journey. We know that this works for me. For everybody who wants to argue with me and have a fight, they haven't been through my walk. I've now gone through 26 surgeries or surgical procedures in lieu of keeping myself here for my children and myself. Then I'd say it was a couple of years ago, Karen introduced me to the patches. And for somebody like me who has significant issues, like I have a Ehlers-Danlos hypermobility. So my joints are actually dislocating from my main stem. You can see it in my MRIs. My spine, I have 5 herniated discs in my spine. I'm only 47. I'm not willing to give up. And I have always integrated functional medicine with Western medicine. And so there's a balance between the two. And today we're going to like focus in how these patches have directly affected my life. And let me tell you something, as much time and money as I've spent trying to make sure that I stay in this world, I would not be spending the amount of money that I spent on these patches if they were not effective. I just wouldn't. And I don't think that they're extraordinarily expensive. I just think I live on a tighter budget than most, considering that I'm fully disabled. So I try to be responsible with how I spend my money. And this is something that I would not skip in my health regimen.
So what did you notice initially when you started using the patches?
So initially, I hurt from head to toe, and we can't give me pain medications because it depresses the lungs. And we didn't know that until 2022, when I was diagnosed with the alpha-1. And I noticed that, so this is what I use together. I use X39, X49, I use the Aeon, and I use the carnitine, and I use the glutathione all together. And that's my regimen for reducing the pain. And so before I had this last incident in August, which we haven't talked about, we'll get to, that just shook my pain levels from like 7, 8, 9 and just dropped them down to, even by the end of the day, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can crawl into bed and not be like, oh, thank God the day is over. I could crawl into bed and go, oh, it was a decent day. It was a good day, And that's a big deal for somebody has joints that are not, they're just not doing what I want them to do. Right. So,
Right.
I also used to do glutathione twice a week in IVs, and now I only do it once a week. And I believe that using the glutathione patches the transfer of where I get my glutathione from is a direct result of my lab levels. So now when I do my labs, they're on a low normal, but I didn't have anything existing before, and it's battling a disease that I can't manage in my liver, right? That there's nothing I can do about the alpha-1 other than the treatment that I am doing. So we have seen where when I was first diagnosed, I had no glutathione at all. I was like at a real dangerous level. In fact, the doctor who first found this out sent me straight to the hospital and said, you have to IVs right now, like there's something really wrong with this. And so from now we've just kind of evolved, and now Karen, we only do it once a week. And then I use the patches. Hold on a second. Willow, come here.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Willow, come here. Willow, come here.
Yeah, so when you're lacking a protein to make glutathione, it's hard to expect the patch to do everything.
Right.
And so, having the IV there too, but the fact that you've been able to cut down from getting twice a week IVs to just once a week, that's wonderful.
Significant to me. Right. That's significant to me. Yes. So that's how the Aeon patches, so I also specifically use the Aeon patch behind my ear. Karen had sent me
protocol?
Yeah, protocol about like memory and brain fog and things.
Brain balance.
Mm-hmm. And so I used to have this incredible memory. When I went to college, I didn't even get books. I could just memorize basically everything everybody told me, and it just absorbed. I can't do that anymore based on the brain bleed and the tumor.
And 2 years in a row of chemo. I mean,
right.
that does take a toll too.
And all the surgeries. After I come out of a surgery, my brain is like, it's difficult to even remember where I put my medication after I have surgeries.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't understand how much that anesthesia really just affects your mind.
When you see a SPECT scan of somebody who's gone into surgery, the entire front part of your prefrontal cortex really turns dark and black. And it's difficult. It's difficult to reason, decide what's going on. I mean, it's a lot. And for me, going under so much is a lot. But that Aeon patch I use behind my ear, and I find that when it's slipping to my new normal, that I go back to that because it really provides instant clarity for me. Willow. So I have a spirit dog. Her name is Willow. Your mom will appreciate this dog. I was in the hospital and your mom came to visit me, and she's like, you have an animal that's always with you. And I do. Her name is Willow, and she's never far from me. And anyway, she's antagonizing one of the other dogs.
So did you want to talk about your journey in the hospital in August then?
Sure.
Did you notice anything with the patches after that too?
Yes. So I fell August 15th, and I crushed my small intestine. And when I was in the hospital, they said, oh, you're doing fine. We're going to send you home. And Karen came to visit me. I'm on high levels of oxygen. I am vomiting sulfur. I'm in excruciating pain. And they keep telling me I'm fine. I was begging to be sent up to Salt Lake City to a predominant surgeon that was prepared to work with a heavy case like mine. A lot of doctors don't know how to work with me because I have so many issues. Yeah. It's very hard and unique, and people make bad decisions, and then I don't just crash, I crash really fast. And so kind of what happened is the doctor's like, oh, I'm going to send you home. And I said, no, you're not. You're going to do another CT scan. Something's really wrong. It's getting worse. And sure enough, he did another CT scan. I think within less than 1 hour, I'm in an ambulance, and I'm being ambulanced to Salt Lake City. So I went from having a collapsed small intestine to an ileus that now was life and death. And so while I was in the hospital, I was struggling to breathe because they were giving me narcotics to try to control the pain. Every time you give me narcotics, it depresses my lungs severely. In fact, they gave me an IV shot of morphine, and I said, you need to be really slow with it. And the nurse just shot it in, and I almost collapsed. I pretty much, my whole body kind of collapsed. She had to grab me. And then she's like, where did you go for the last 2 minutes? And I said, Willow, hey. I said, I can't. Willow. Willow. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Okay, so finally they get me up to the hospital in Salt Lake City, and they did two things. I ended up with 3 emergency surgeries. I had fecal leakage. They tried saving my small intestine. They were unsuccessful with that. My stomach's been cut into 3 times. I now have gastritis from all the surgery that I had. I have lost 105 pounds now or something like that in the last 7-8 months. And on top of that, I got COVID, a new strain of COVID. And so while I was in Cedar City, I asked Karen to please bring me, and I always forget the name of these, Karen, but they're the red patches. That's how I know them by.
The energy enhancer.
Thank you. The energy enhancer. Yeah. So I put them on both sides of my lungs. And while I was doing that, I was actually getting lung improvement. And you could actually see it because they were lowering my oxygen levels while I was in the hospital. And my oxygen isn't just like, oh, let me leave her on 2. It's like, I'll give you an example. When I took the ambulance ride, the guy goes, oh my gosh, you'll go from being on 1 liter to 7 liters in 30 minutes. How do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, your oxygen just does great. And then it just plummets. And I said, I don't know. He's like, I've never seen that before. So when I use the energy enhancers, to me, it helps stabilize the lungs better, where I'm not having these huge,
roller coaster rides with the oxygen saturation.
Yeah, they try to help, stabilize me. Well, I was in the hospital for 3 weeks and they sent me home because at this point I looked like I was starving because they couldn't get me anything that I would keep down. And nobody had realized I had COVID at this point. They were so focused on my alpha-1 was being triggered and I needed so much oxygen. And then they were trying to get me to heal intestinally. I was in so much pain because they had these pipes in my stomach and my stomach was so irritated. So every time I took a breath, I was in agony and they couldn't give me pain meds. So he's like, maybe if I send you home, you'll get better. Well, he sends me home and I get worse. And the same day, my son is carrying me into a wheelchair and rolling me in to see Karen. And I now need like higher levels of oxygen. I didn't have a tank that supported the oxygen levels.
You were on 10 liters.
I was on 10 liters, of oxygen. And I'm laying on the couch and you provide me, standard protocol for COVID, right? And it's not shaking. And from there, I end up patching with everything. Like you name it, I had it. I was like, I look like like your kids are playing stickers on the wall, everywhere. I had patches everywhere. And the journey got worse, a little bit worse for me because my lungs was having a hard time recouping because at the same time, when they put me into surgery up at Salt Lake City, I had another dual pneumothorax. So now that was my second one in my lifetime. And most people never survive one, and I've survived it twice now. And so anyway, so I'm laying here and my son is literally carrying me to the bed, carrying me to the couch. And finally I called Karen and I'm like, we got to do something different. She sends me some other stuff and some other ideas. And I did end up patching with nicotine, which we can talk about a little bit. And that helped me get my taste buds back. And there's been some other things that I've done with the nicotine for the COVID, because it looks like I now have long COVID. It's affected my lungs. It's affecting my bladder. It's affecting my intestines. But I'm still not giving up on all of my patching, because without the patching, I would be in a lot more pain. I take a med for my cancer treatment, and it actually reduces some of the pain level I have. And I take an injectable medication for pain. And that probably was leaving me at about a 5 most days. And if you ask my home health nurse, they would tell you that's pretty much where they have me at. But when I became aware again, because I was really, really sick, and I started repatching again with the Aeon and the carnitine and doing my regimen with X39 and 49, I now tell my nurses my pain level is about a 2 or a 3. And in my book, that's big. Like for the rest of you, like 2 or 3 may seem bad, but that is excellent for me. And my oxygen is pretty much sustaining between 2 and 4 right now. And that's excellent for me. That's excellent for me.
Yeah. Just to kind of put it in perspective, when we put somebody on pain medication to help their pain, if we can get them down from a pain level of 9 to a pain level of 7, we feel like that's a success. 2 points is considered a big success.
What's the difference between being able to talk through it and just sit there and just be like, I mean, I've been there. Yeah, it's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you notice much difference with your cognitive function? I know you mentioned that the Aeon you used in the behind your ear. Did you notice much of a difference with that? How would you compare that to what it was before?
So when I had my 2 months after having the brain bleed, they did another IQ test, and my IQ when I qualified for Mensa when I was about 16. So the guess was that I had an IQ of somewhere between 140 and 160. And then when I did my IQ testing again 2 months after with a neuropsychologist, they showed a significant decline in my memory significant decline in my ability to even perceive the world around me and how to re-express it. There were some serious deficiencies in those areas. I used to be able to do an Excel sheet in 15 minutes. It was taking me 3-4 hours. Writing notes, listening to something and writing notes, I'd have to listen to it like 8 times before I could write it down. And I just don't have the spirit to give up. And so despite how hard it is, I still don't have the spirit to give up. Even when I want to. So don't get me wrong. I know I have days that are really, really hard. I'm human. But I just don't have that spirit to give up. I just don't, I don't know. It's just within me. And so when I use the patching, especially for the brain, it's much different. Like I can now put thoughts and write them down. So when I go into appointments, I can talk about them. When I'm in the doctor's office and I'm trying to express what's going on and they're not understanding, or there's a discrepancy in how we should do things, I don't drop to tears and just kind of give up on the conversation. I can actually follow through on it. I can have a conversation. It's not emotional, it's rational. And I feel like I actually get somewhere. Where for a while I wasn't getting anywhere with anybody unless they were literally like holding my hand and walking me through step by step. So when I went in for my disability hearing, the cognition part of it was so dominant that at that point they said, oh, all she's going to be good for at this point is basically Xerox copying, because she doesn't have the memory for anything anymore, based on the neuropsych results. So today, I have skills and I use them. I write things down. I don't get frustrated. I keep calm. I manage in those ways. So it allows my brain to work better. And so with the patching, I can go, oh, this is what I need to do today. This is my schedule, because I was even missing doctor's appointments. Like it never even occurred to me I had one. Like I could look at my schedule and go, I know I have this, this, and this today. And then like 15 minutes later, I'd be like, oh, I'm fine. Just be on the couch and like nothing. Like I was nothing. And so anyway, I now I'm not missing any doctor's appointments. I have other things that I have to pay attention to. I'm meeting all of those deadlines. I mean, things were so bad that my bills, there were a couple months that my bills didn't even get paid, and my family had no idea that I wasn't that wasn't being taken care of. Like they were clueless that I wasn't even capable of doing it, because everybody always sees me as so capable that they didn't even realize it. So those are some other consequences, and those aren't consequences that I'm facing today. So now, you know, the bills are being paid on time, and you know, but you would think those, I mean, this is part of how bad it was, Karen. Like it got to the point that I ended up seeing a trauma therapist, because I said, what value do I have living like this anymore? And my last daughter just graduated from high school. She'll be turning 18. And I had come to a point, even though I was trying to stay afloat, I'd come to the point that once she graduated, I had no value after that. So I'm grateful for my therapist, and I'm grateful for the patches, and I'm grateful for I think God just has given me a spirit of just not wanting to let go, no matter how easy would it have been for me to let go from everything I've gone through.
Well, it sounds like you're a cat with 9 lives, and I hope you have many more. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us. Yeah. Yeah. So my question to everybody is, have you been patched yet? I have been using the patches now for 3 years. Can you imagine experiencing a level of health and vitality that you haven't experienced since your youth. Imagine having no pain, sleeping through the night, having more energy, and reversing aging. Well, we may not be able to do all of these things at 100%, but there is a lot that we can do for all of these issues. And it's not science fiction, it's something that we can actually do. So with the patches, how they work is they are made of organic nanocrystals embedded in a little patch, and it's a form of frequency medicine. What it's doing is it's helping to increase our stem cells. The X39 particularly is. As we age, our stem cells decline, and the less stem cells you have, the slower you heal. And hundreds of millions of people are experiencing symptoms of aging, like myself. I'm 57, and I was starting to notice that I was not sleeping as well. My hair was getting thin on the sides, and I was getting thinner tissue under my eyes, which I didn't like. As we age, the stem cells in our body become less effective. By age 60, the stem cells in our body show very little activity. They become slower. They're releasing less of the growth factors that are needed to repair our bodies. And by the time we're in our mid-70s, we're showing almost no stem cell activity at all. And that's why older people have such a difficult time healing from injury. Now, LifeWave does have a disclaimer. The LifeWave products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. And you always want to consult with your physician or medical care provider before you embark on any new treatment, product, fitness program, or diet. So that being said, the patch itself is not healing you at all. What it's doing is it's giving you a particular frequency that's stimulating your body to produce more copper peptide. And that in turn is turning on stem cells so that your body can work on repairing itself. It's made of organic nanocrystals, and our bodies are constantly emitting light. So if we were to go out in the sun, the sunlight hits our body and gives our body a particular frequency that tells our bodies to start producing vitamin D. The sun isn't actually giving us vitamin D, it's telling us to make vitamin D. And it's that concept that's in these patches. So as our body is emitting light, and we normally can't see that we're glowing beings, but if you were to look at each other with night vision goggles, you would see that we actually do emit light in the far infrared spectrum. And as that light hits the patch, it gets infused with that frequency, goes back into the body and tells the body to start producing more copper peptide in the case of X39 and other different peptides in the cases of the other patches. But that copper peptide has a lot of health benefits just by itself. In fact, the National Institute of Health on their website has this to say. It says, copper peptide stimulates blood vessel and nerve outgrowth and increases collagen and elastin for visible anti-aging. Copper peptide's ability to improve tissue repair has been demonstrated for skin, lung connective tissue, which can be really important for somebody like Tondra, bony tissue, liver, and stomach lining. Copper peptide has also been found to possess powerful cell productive actions such as multiple anti-cancer activities, anti-inflammatory actions, as well as having anti-anxiety, anti-pain, and anti-aggression activities. And that was just a first few lines on their website about copper peptide. It goes on. So the person who came up with this is David Schmidt. He is our inventor and founder, CEO. He has over 130 US patents. He is a scientist and inventor and a two-time recipient of the Advanced Technology Award from the International Hall of Fame. He first came up with the ideas for the patches when he was actually working for the military. He was trying to come up with a way for Navy SEALs to stay submerged in a mini stub for 30 hours without the use of stimulants or other harmful substances. And he came up with the first prototype, the Energy Enhancer patch. And this is the patch that Tondra has been using for her lungs to help that. So that came out clear back 20 years ago. This is LifeWave's 20th anniversary. So this company has been around now for a while. It has exclusively protected patents, over 80 research and clinical studies. Independent researchers and universities, medical and scientific experts have looked into this. This slide on the bottom corner is a brain scan of a 77-year-old female. And if you look at the right-hand side, you can see that there's a color spectrum. The higher the voltage of the brain, the more into the red zone you go. And you can see in this first session, this 77-year-old female had a very overstimulated, overactive brain. After 3 weeks of using the patch, you can see how it's much, much calmer. And she's able to maintain that after 6 weeks. And this is really impressive when you consider that what I said about the stem cells declining, and you almost have no stem cell activity by the age of 70. At 77, even this stem cell activator patch, the X39, getting that copper peptide and getting those stem cells moving, allowed her to have benefit, so anybody can use these. And we'll go to this next slide. I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of the X39. A lot of people will experience rapid pain relief with using that. There are reductions of inflammation. In fact, within the first 24 hours, we are able to show that it greatly reduces inflammation. And the inflammation in the body is at the core of so many disease processes, so that anything we can do to bring that down is going to help improve our overall wellness. It supports wound healing, energy and vitality, helps with mental clarity, as we've discussed. It can enhance sports performance, faster recovery from exercise, and improved skin appearance. I noticed with myself that it was about 3 months of using the X39 and I started feeling like I had more plumpness under my eyes. So let's go to the next slide and talk about what you can expect when you first put on the patch. Within the first few days, 4,000 genes began to reset, between 3,000 to 4,000. Within 4 weeks, there's this whole new army of genes that are activated. You're having critical issues that are needing to be repaired, and a lot of times we're not even aware of what is needing to be repaired. I mean, think of somebody who has a heart condition and they don't even realize it, and these genes and all of our resources are going to that area to help us heal without us even knowing it. Within 6 weeks, as we saw from the previous slide, your brain starts becoming more balanced. And within 3 months, your collagen is increased. And that's going to be good for tissue repair, our muscles, bones, not just our outward appearance, but the inward, everything that's going on inside. Within 6 months, there was an interesting study where they had 14 out of 15 people using the patch for a 6-month period. And what they noticed was that they had a reduction, 14 of 15 people had a reduction in their cardiovascular system of 8 weeks younger. Within 12 months, there's noticeable regeneration. And that's exciting because you want it both inside and out. Don't we all want to look and feel our best? We always want to look our best, but it's even more important that we're healing what's going on the inside that we can't even see. So if you want to learn more about this, you can go to yourteaminmotion.com. They have a great website with lots of information and testimonials, so you can check that out, and you can come back to it periodically to find out more information and to see what testimonials are most current on there. And I do want to thank Tondra. And before we say goodbye, I am curious, did you notice any improvement? Because we talked about how it does help with supporting wound healing. Did you notice anything with your surgeries helping to recover faster with the healing of your scars or anything like that?
So yeah, I have 17 incisions in my stomach and on my chest from the surgery, and you pretty much can't see any of them, but maybe 2.
Oh, wow. Yay.
I know.
That's exciting. That's cool.
A bunch of cuts all over their stomach, but yeah, there were 16 in my stomach and there was one up in my chest, and this one has been cut up like 4 times, and I don't know, you can barely see it. And the other ones, there's only 2 of them on my stomach that you could see. The rest of them are all
Wow.
there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to add before we say goodbye?
I would just say that, considering I've had so many medical things, I've had so many people say to me, oh, you should try this, you should try that. And it leaves me really skeptical, you know, on some things. And the thing that really got me in the beginning was, I used to race horses when I was a kid. And when I first saw that video of those race horses and the improvement on those horses, I was absolutely sold, because people can say things all day long, but a horse and what I was watching and what I knew about being raised with horses, I mean, that was it. That sold me. The other thing too is, my ex-husband had an anterior posterior fusion on 5 different levels of his spine, and he never likes to go to like big amusement parks with his kids. And I said, hey, I patched him up to go, and he said by the end of the day he was walking to the car and wasn't even complaining about pain, and he doesn't even wear them. That was one day. So I know from my own personal experience that this definitely works. I'll keep going. I'm like Karen. For those of you looking at Karen, she doesn't look 57. I'll be 48. If you look me in the face, most people will never guess that I'm going to be 48. And so, you know, oh, I know what I forgot to tell you. The one thing that happened when I got really sick is almost all my hair had fallen out. And I had long hair almost to my waist, and it like was beautiful, thick hair. And I mean, it's all growing back in. Like, it's all growing back in. Like, and we're talking, I've gone through chemo for 2 years, and I had that major accident where I was completely nutritional deficient, and my hair is growing back in. And I see a lot of people my age, and it doesn't happen. So I definitely feel like, I definitely know this works from the inside out. Like, I absolutely know that. So anyway, I would just tell people, just try it. I mean, just try this. That's all I could say.
And I can't help but ask one last question, as we heard Willow in the background. Have you used this on any of your dogs?
So I only used it on one of my Frenchies when she sliced her leg open and it became abscessed. And so, yes, we actually did. We used it on one of the dogs, and she did fine. She's only a 10-pound French bulldog. And yeah, we put it right. I actually put an X39 right above. And when I was wrapping the sore, I put it underneath that and wrapped it with the dog. And yeah, we thought we were going to have to go into surgery and have the abscess completely cleaned out and removed. And we didn't end up having to do that.
Yay. Oh, awesome.
So anyway, yeah, I'm all about cross-referencing. So thanks for asking that. I forget about that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tondra Thompson. We so much appreciate you sharing your story, and hopefully it will help somebody else out there. And thank you everyone for coming and joining on this call. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.